Our show sponsor for starts and sits is Aspire Drinks. If you go to aspiredrinks.com using the code Dween, you can save 15% on all of your orders. I just bought a 27-pack variety edition because there's so many different good flavors. It's green tea power energy drinks, less caffeine, more benefits, the refreshingly unextreme energy. Go and get some today using code Dween, and let's get back to the video. Welcome in, Dween Nation. This is your host, Justin Pies, alongside Janoah Agudelo, and this week is week 6 of the NFL season. It's unbelievable that it actually is running that fast. This week is also a big one because in our big league, I get to face off against my brother here, Janoah. He beat me in our other big league. He whooped me last week, so we'll try to forget about that week and focus on this one. But super excited to dive into starts and sits this week. We got some really good picks down the line, even some deeper plays that should be in your starting lineup. But before we dive into all of that, how you doing, Janoah?
Yo, Dween Nation. Justin, I know a lot of Dween Nation would probably want to see us in like a, documentary styled fantasy league where, we would drop an episode every week, in just 40 minutes. I've seen some episodes on YouTube. I'll send it to you later, Justin. But wouldn't Dween Nation want to see that maybe in the future? We draft the league, right? We do this big in-person draft, and then, people see our matchups throughout the season. That'd be fun. But yeah, Justin, it'll be a tough matchup facing Josh Allen, Bijan, and Jamar Chase. So, Justin, I'm going to be absolutely scared out of my mind facing you this week, especially it being a Monday night game between Josh Allen and Bijan Robinson in the same stadium. So, anyways, Dween Nation, I'm doing good. But this whole week is going to be a lot of fun, Justin. And I'm looking through our starts and sits here. I think it's really interesting. I think this is one of our best episodes yet. I'm hoping we hit this week.
Yeah, no, I would love to see this documentary thing that you kind of brought up. You would have seen me go through the phases because in kind of my two biggest leagues that I kind of carry weight with, for the one against you, I was just straight like this the whole day, just like, oh my gosh. And then the other one, I was playing against your brother, Josiah, who we've had on the podcast. And it started out really bad because he had CJ Stroud and Jonathan Taylor, who combined for 7 touchdowns, and I was not expected to win. So I was like this then. But then 3 o'clock hits, and we get Emeka Egbuka, and then 2 garbage time touchdowns for Jamar. Completely changed the game. But that's the name of the game. That is fantasy football right there. It could be It could be looking one way and then completely flip the other way. That's the fun part and the scary part of it. But past all that, excited for this week of fantasy football. And we'll start diving into our starts and sits. At quarterback, I got Baker Mayfield, which I know you're probably starting him, but I just think he's going to have such a good performance this week. We saw Matthew Stafford last week stack a top 3 fantasy performance against the 49ers on Thursday Night Football. The 49ers defense is not the same defense as we all remember them to be. With no Nick Bosa, that really changes a lot. And their defense just hasn't looked the same. So I really like Baker Mayfield, who has Emeka Egbuka, who is a star receiver in the making, with Chris Godwin and Rachaad White out of the backfield. Give me Baker Mayfield as a top 3 quarterback play.
Absolutely, Justin. Not only that, you had Chris Godwin. Cade Otton is capable to catch fire. Rachaad White is a great receiving back out of the backfield. Obviously, looking like, Bucky's not going to play again, probably this week and next week. So they can rely on Bucky as a great receiving target out of the backfield, as well as Sean Tucker. And you know what? Even old man Sterling Shepard, he was really good in the Giants there, and Eli Manning's last couple of years there in New York. And Justin, now he's catching some touchdowns there. And then there is some talks that Mike Evans could return. It's very 50-50. Let's see if he practices throughout Thursday and Friday heading into the games, because they need those practices there, Justin. But it doesn't matter. Baker Mayfield is playing with, in my mind, you know what, Justin? Emeka Egbuka, and this is a hot take. I know this starts to say, but he is top 5 candidate for, obviously he's no-brainer for Rookie of the Year. But, Justin, he is top 5 for MVP of the league. That is a hot take. I don't care, guys. I am saying it right now. He is on fire. He has literally transformed this Buccaneers offense to a 3D offense. It's, when Tom Brady leaves, you get Baker Mayfield. He's phenomenal. He's caught fire. And this matchup is really good against the 49ers. They're beatable. And even, Justin, if 49ers have a dominant defensive first half, Baker's going to heat it up second. He's not going to go down with the fight. He's a fighter. And I love it. I love the matchup there. Hopefully they're not wearing those uniforms, Justin. Please wear the red and gray pants, though. I like the creamsicles, but
I
a
like
couple weeks already. I mean, they already worn it. Was it week 2 they wore it, or
week
week
two.
3?
Week two,
And then
yeah.
they wore it last week in Seattle. So I mean, come on, guys. I mean, I like the red and gray. All right. For me, I'm gonna go with colors that are iconic at all time. Is Green Bay Packers and their quarterback and Jordan Love here. I love the matchup home against Cincinnati. I think we talked about Cincinnati. This is the worst it can get, right? Those 2 weeks in Minnesota and 2 weeks in was it Denver. Now they're going to put up points. I think that the Packers, Jordan Love's going to need to catch up with that. He's been on fire this year. I love what I've seen out of him. It doesn't matter who's at wide receiver. And you know what, Justin? I don't need to get too fundamental as far as a quarterback, but Jordan Love this year, he's had the best stance and like pocket presence I've seen in a quarterback. Look, go ahead, guys. Look at him this week at home against Cincinnati. Look at his mechanics. He has like these Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre kind of just mechanics. He looks smooth, and he has these great throws that he throws outside of 30 yards. Looking at his receivers, he's going to have Matt Golden. He's going to have Romeo Doubs. Wicks is healthy. You got Tucker Kraft, who is a top 6 scoring tight end. And then you get Malik Heath, Savion Williams. They have these random guys that score. Doesn't even matter that Christian Watson won't be here for another month. Doesn't even matter, Justin. At home in Green Bay, if there's no weather going, it's October, so nothing's gonna happen there at Lambeau Field. Jordan Love, he looks smooth. He's got one of the best teams around him. Good offensive line, good scheme. Matt LaFleur at home, Cincinnati. The matchup, it's just golden to me. Give me Jordan Love as my start of the week.
I see what you did there. It's golden because he's got golden this week.
Yeah.
I mean, last time we saw Jordan Love, he was the quarterback 5 on the week against Dallas. It was a great game, but they ended in a tie. So I know the Packers are wanting to push forward. They have a great matchup against the Bengals. I love what they got there. So I love this start for you. Little
with
side
rest.
note. Yeah, with rest. You're right.
Yeah,
Coming off the bye. That's huge. That's huge as well. And side note, the Packers have designated Christian Watson to return. He's not going to come back this week, but he has the 21-day window is now open for him, so he should be returning soon. So that's notes for further weeks. But I really do like Love. I think all I hope is that Cincinnati can put up something to keep this a game. I don't really expect that. I expect kind of a similar what we saw with Detroit and Cincinnati last week, where Green Bay's just up big, and then maybe Cincy can get a little of a garbage time, a couple of scores. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand with him. I think Jordan Love is a great play as well. We'll move to running back, where I have DeAndre Swift, and candidly, this is kind of a double dipping because I have 2 picks here that I really like. DeAndre Swift, obviously right here. I'll discuss him big time, but Rico Dowdle is a must start this week, ladies and gentlemen. Revenge game against a poor Dallas Cowboys defense. No Chuba Hubbard. He's going to eat. I'm not going to say 200 yards again, but he is going to eat this week. But anyway, I'll move to my other one, which is DeAndre Swift. And he hasn't been that good this year. Yes, candidly, for sure, hasn't been efficient. But coming off the bye week, and there's just this gut feeling that the Chicago Bears, they want to get their get back. They want to get their revenge. They lost to this team, the Commanders, on a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
That they were talking smack for. I think it was Tyreek Stevenson. And they lost that game, and then they ended up going on a 10-game losing streak. So I think this is the moment. This is the inflection point where they're coming off the bye. They're rested. And yes, they are going on the road, but I think this is a perfect spot for the Bears to get their get back. And I think Swift gets enough volume to where obviously he's kind of a low-end RB2 normal weeks, but I think this week he's going to find himself as an RB1.
Yeah, Justin, I absolutely love it. And you know what, guys? We honor that. We love honorable mentions here. So you know what, Justin? Feel free to throw your honorable mentions. Every now and then I have one too. I love both of them. First of all, with Rico Dowdle there, and this all depends on Chuba Hubbard if he plays or not. But if he does, I mean, the matchup is also great too. I love it. I mean, he's going to get that workload. Not to mention that he was able to do this last year in Dallas. So he's going to get those goal line carries. I'm not scared. I love the ETN family, but I'm not really worried that the running back depth chart there. So I love it. I love Dowdle there. And then DeAndre Swift, I mean, they also had rest there. They had their bye week last week. And then you get a matchup where, Washington defense is beatable. I think that DeAndre Swift has some time to figure himself out in this Ben Johnson offense. This depth chart I like the depth chart for the running back room when we talk about the Bears. But at this point of the season, not quite yet. Maybe like week 12, week 13. Maybe if they make a playoffs there, if they make a playoff berth, or maybe I like the Bears running back room. But for right now, I love DeAndre Swift. I love the matchup. For me, Justin, I'm going to go with someone that everyone's been kind of skeptical of. because obviously you look at last week and you see Charbonnet, he's the running back for the Seahawks that get in the end zone. But I feel like this week I like the matchup against the Jags. I think this is more favored to maybe Kenneth Walker to get towards 100 yards and maybe a touchdown. I do think that we talked about this kind of before week one, when we're talking about the running backs for Seattle. I do think that overall Charbonnet is starting to become the more talented back. However, I think that as far as snap shares, I think they're still going to get Kenneth Walker involved. And so I do like this matchup, right? I think this matchup on the road against the Jags, I think that the defense is beatable. Last week Kareem Hunt got in the end zone for them on the road against the Jags. And I think that that's kind of like the running back we're not expecting for Kansas City. And I think that's kind of similar to Seattle, where it's like, okay, Charbonnet's the guy now. People are starting Charbonnet, Justin. I mean, I'm looking across leagues. Charbonnet's being started now. He is a guy that you can now put in as a flex. But I think that this week is going to be an unexpected turn where Kenneth Walker gets the 100 yards and a touchdown. Now, going forward throughout the season, I'm not sure if there's going to be a thing, but I don't want to rain on Kenneth Walker's shine at this moment here today, going into week 6. So I feel like, you know what, Justin, Kenneth Walker, though, is my running back start of the week.
I like Kenneth Walker a lot. And honestly, 10 carries for 86 yards last week. Tampa Bay is a really good run defense. They give up passes to the running back at a high volume, but against just rushing the football, they are really good. And he had 8.6 yards a carry last week, and he really did all the work. And Zach Charbonnet really got the reward with the touchdown in the end zone on the goal line. But I haven't been that impressed with Charbonnet this year. He hasn't had a game over 4 yards a carry. He's finding himself in the end zone, which is valuable.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think if Ken Walker can just hit himself into the end zone, show that he has that capability, he's going to be the guy there. And I do like him this week. I've been a couple days ago. No, yesterday. It was yesterday. I posted a buy low, sell high video on TikTok and Instagram, and he is a buy low for me because I think currently his workload is sitting at a 50-50, and I think his skill is only going to push him forward moving forward. So, actually, we'll talk about that later. We're talking about wide receivers, though. Starts of the week here. I have Tedero McMillan, and they are hosting the Dallas Cowboys, so probably the worst receiving defense in the league. And he is just due, man. We have been waiting for the breakout to happen, and I think this is the week Tedero gets it done. He's still the clear favorite for Bryce Young. I know Leggett got himself in the end zone last week. But McMillan, man, we're just waiting, and I want to be on the train when it happens. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to miss the train and be a week late. I think this is the week it happens for him.
Yeah, Justin, I mean, he was my start of the week last week, and he did pretty good for himself. Not too bad. I think here's the thing. I think this offense isn't as impressive as we thought it was going to be. I mean, I like Dave Canales, but I'm starting to think he needs to get a little bit more creative. So this is not eating on McMillan's part. I mean, he still had 73 yards last week. The matchup was good. It's just Rico Dowdle went absolutely nuts, so maybe that kind of held back. He did have 8 targets for 6 catches, Justin. So not bad. His longest catch was 29, so it's not too bad. I like the matchup this week, home against Dallas. So give me Ted again this week. I mean, he's going to be back-to-back weeks as our start of the week. I love it. Bryce Young eventually, I'm believing the same way you feel about Ted, I feel the same way about Bryce Young. Like eventually he's going to have his signature game where he's had a few game winners in the last couple years. But I mean like a 350 kind of 4-touch, kind of similar to what CJ did last week against the Ravens. Here we need Bryce Young to do that, and it's going to need Ted. I need Ted to get over 120 and a couple touchdowns. I see it, Justin. For me, I'm going to go with DK Metcalf. And Justin, you know what? One of my favorite things of this year, you know what? Let me say this. One of my things not so fair about last week was we didn't get to see the Pittsburgh Steelers play. Because at once upon a time, Aaron Rodgers was my favorite football player besides J.J. Watt. So talented. But now it's kind of one of those things. You're feeling a little nostalgia. And I like this matchup home against the Browns for DK Metcalf. He needs to have his, Pittsburgh moment as one of those tough players. Looking at the Steelers' schedule, they lost at home against the Seattle Seahawks there in their iconic stadium. And then their other home game was that game against Minnesota 2 weeks ago. I think that was in Dublin, Ireland. So the last time they were home, they got blown out by the Seahawks. So I feel like this week is their classic Aaron Rodgers game. And I think that DK Metcalf is going to have a big say in it. Looking at DK Metcalf, he has been phenomenal for the Steelers. 261 yards and 3 touchdowns, 15 catches. He averages 17 yards a catch. Not to mention that This is through 4 weeks of the season, right? Last week they didn't play. They had a bye. And so this week you get DK Metcalf at home with some rest. Old man Aaron Rodgers. I'm feeling nostalgic. It's like that. It's like that chocolate, that candy you had when you were a kid. You don't eat it for 15 plus years. You become grown. You get your money. You buy that special. You eat it. And you're like, oh man, that's what it was as a kid. This is what I'm feeling with Aaron Rodgers. This is his final season, so he's gonna have that final go around. I think this week is one of those classic Aaron Rodgers games.
Yeah, for DK, I'm not a full start. I think you probably have to start him if you have him on your team. The only thing I'm looking, he has had 3 touchdowns in 3 consecutive games, so that has been important. He is the guy Aaron Rodgers looks to, in the end zone and the red zone, and that's valuable. But I think that's what you're gonna need to get from him, for him to return that value. He hasn't topped 7 targets in a game.
Yeah.
And the last time we saw him was against Minnesota, right? And he had that 80-yard touchdown, which, I'm not trying to downplay an 80-yard touchdown. You're skilled to get that. But if he didn't have that, he would have had 40 yards on 4 catches and no touchdowns. Like, it wasn't great there. So the only thing is, I don't think this is a super high passing offense, but DK Metcalf is talented enough to find himself in the end zone. I think that's what you're going to be pushing for this week. But moving to 2 tight ends now. I have Mason Taylor. It's probably my deepest pool that I've had at the tight end position this year. But for Mason Taylor, he's actually played sneakily really solidly. Like, he is getting targets from Justin Fields. I'm trying to look up here his stats here. But Mason Taylor obviously is a second-round pick in the NFL draft. So they used pretty high draft capital to bring him in. And if you discuss kind of the pass catchers for Justin Fields, you say Garrett Wilson, and then you kind of stop there. You can mention Breece Hall, sure. That counts out of the running back position, sure. But after that, there's really nobody. And if you look at last week for Mason Taylor, he had 9 receptions on 12 targets for 67 yards. And so that to me is opens my eyes. We don't get that from tight ends except Jake Ferguson this year. That's the only guy that we've seen top that much usage. And so what gets me excited about Taylor this week in particular is that the Jets are playing the Broncos. And on paper, it doesn't look pretty. But Garrett Wilson is going to get that PS2 treatment. He's going to get that Pat Surtain lockdown treatment, right? And so who is Justin Fields going to look to next? I think that's going to be Mason Taylor. I like the volume that he's getting. And when the tight end gets that amount of volume, he's going to find himself as a start. And that's what I got Mason Taylor this week.
Yeah, I like Mason Taylor. I think, the Jets are going to need to figure out something else to get someone else the ball besides Garrett Wilson. And I like it. I mean, he was one of our sleeper of the years, or one of our my guys. Yeah, for me, I
sleeper.
If I tight end or one of like breakouts or something. I think it was probably sleeper. But yeah, I love it. I think, it's definitely time for him to break through. I think eventually Aaron Glenn is going to start getting creative at this team is 0-5, Justin. They're I mean, they're not a bad team. They're not like dog water. It's not like, oh my gosh, the Jets. I mean, I still like Fields. I mean, they've had some stinkers, but they still show potential. So maybe they can show. I like Mason Taylor. Justin, I've learned to love my LSU guys. I'm a Longhorn. I like LSU. I have I love the LSU players.
When they come to the NFL, then I like them, right?
Yeah, okay, yes. For Longhorns and Aggies here speaking, yes, I agree with you. For me, I'm going to go with Juwan Johnson. This one's kind of like, whoa, Juwan Johnson. But if you look at the Saints right now, I like the way Spencer Rattler's playing. He's not playing horrible. He's got 6 touchdowns to 1 pick. And I do like him better as a home quarterback. He's not going to have 300 yards. He's not going to look extravagant. But it's kind of like Dak Prescott, where he's a good quarterback to try to rally to kind of tie the game. And it kind of requires that, which is good for fantasy. Looking at the Saints right now, Justin, they're leading targets right now, right? Leading receivers right now. It is Chris Olave, second Juwan Johnson. As far as receiving yards is Juwan Johnson. He's second receiving yards, third in targets. Now he's the leading tight end. I know guys might be thinking, well, you got to watch out for Taysom Hill because he can sneak one. Yes, but you can make the argument that Taysom Hill throws a touchdown to Juwan Jennings. So that's another thing that benefits Juwan Jennings, because Taysom Hill gets a passing touchdown, a rushing touch, whatever, right? Receiving. Yeah. But I do like Juwan Johnson as a big yards guy. He's a guy that Spencer Rattler's looking at home. He has scored a touchdown so far. I think he scored a touchdown last week or the week before. But he's still second in receiving yards. or second in targets, third in receiving yards. And that, to me, that's going to benefit a Kellen Moore offense, which if a Chris Olave goes out to an injury, God forbid, you know what I'm saying? He gets hurt. If Rashid Shaheed isn't producing, he doesn't, he has a random game every now and then sure. Kamara, he has more targets than Kamara, which to me, Justin, is surprising. So I like that a lot. That's very valuable to me, Justin. At home against the Patriots, this is a matchup where, okay, I'm not going to fire up the Patriots defense just yet. They could have a great game, but still, Spencer Rattler's going to find his guys if they're down 15 or they're down 2 or down 3. If they're down a ton, he's going to get a ton of targets, and I like this matchup at home against the Saints.
Yeah, I actually completely agree with you here, and I think a lot of people might be off of the Juwan Johnson train because the last 3 weeks his points have gone down each of the weeks. After the first 2 games he played really, really well. The last 3 weeks haven't been as shiny. But let's dive deeper into it because for one, this week they play the Patriots. They are at home, but Chris Olave is getting that Christian Gonzalez shadow. So it's kind of similar to the discussion with Mason Taylor where Garrett Wilson's getting Pat Surtain. Chris Olave is getting Christian Gonzalez. And with that brings that the Patriots are 31st against the tight end position. They have been really, really bad. Last week we saw Don Kincaid get 6 receptions for over 100 yards. The week before that, we saw Tommy Trimble get in the end zone for 2 touchdowns. In week 1, we saw Bowers go for over 100 yards. So they're really bad against the tight end position. And so I really agree with you here that I think Juwan Johnson's an option. And with Chris Olave kind of getting locked up on the side, I like Juwan Johnson to be Rattler's guy. So I like it there. And I think these are both deeper plays too. So maybe you have some injuries, maybe you have some players struggling, and you can pick these guys up, throw them in your lineups, and they're going to have a good week. We'll move to the sits of the week, guys that we do not think we're going to perform up to their projection, and it is a guy I was just talking about, Garrett Wilson. And I feel like these picks now have kind of become like just easy picks, like cookie jar picks. Like I did it last week with AJ Brown. I did it in week 2 with Pittman. So I am doing it again this week. I just think Garrett Wilson obviously is such a talented player, but when you get that Pat Surtain treatment, man, you get locked down for the week. It's just a week that you're gonna have to close the store and weather the storm. So I just don't think Garrett Wilson's in line for a great game. They are also overseas, and the Broncos are no scary. I mean, they are a scary defense overall, and Justin Fields hasn't been the best quarterback in the world, even though Garrett Wilson has been performing. But that's why I just don't think Garrett Wilson's going to have a great game.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is. I mean, this is a weird matchup against the Broncos. I don't know. I still going to start Garrett Wilson. I think that the Pat Surtain treatment is very alarming, but I feel like he could get some late touchdowns. But you know what, Justin? I think you can say the same for my guy here and Brian Thomas Jr. because, I mean, look, first of all, I want to say he's been one of the most disappointing fantasy football players this year. Besides, I want to say like Chase Brown or, among a few others. I mean, you can't say like CeeDee Lamb because he's been hurt. But I would say like Brian Thomas Jr. has been one of the most, disappointing players. When I say that, I don't want to sugarcoat it because I really mean it. It's one of the most disappointing players in fantasy. I mean, the matchup, just a few nights ago against the Chiefs, Justin, I don't care how good you think the Chiefs defense are. I mean, this was a back and forth scoring matchup, 31-20. I know there's a few defensive touchdowns, but still, I'm sorry. This situation, Brian Thomas should have. I love Travis Hunter, and he had made a great play or two, but come on. Brian Thomas, he looks good. He doesn't look hurt. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think him and Trevor just don't see eye to eye like that. They just don't have that connection. He only has 244 yards to 5 games. There's players that have had bye weeks and still have more that have started. Come on. He only has 16 catches, Justin. 16 catches through 5 games. And he's had some good matchups. He had, Carolina week 1 and come on, guys. Seriously, this is ridiculous. It's disappointing. If you were able to trade him away, Justin, after week 2 or 3, I think you traded him away after week 2 or 3. After week 1, you saw the vision. You saw the vision, man. I give you credit. I give you credit on that one. I would say Brian Thomas Jr. could have this secondary for Seattle is pretty solid. I don't know. I think Brian Thomas Jr. He's definitely a guy that falls for sure next year's in draft, 5th or 6th round. He's having the Marvin Harrison rookie year. It's just very disappointing. And you kind of look at Mac Jones and San Fran airing it out to Kendrick Bourne. It's like maybe it's the quarterback issue. You know, that's what I think, Justin.
Yeah, well, the weird thing is, I've honestly, for just about his entire career, Trevor Lawrence has been a disappointment until Monday Night Football. He looked really good, and he made a couple of silly plays. But he pulled off a big win against the Chiefs. And he did it on the back of not needing Brian Thomas Jr. to have a big game. Now, Brian Thomas did have a big play. I remember on that last drive. I think he caught a long one down the sideline. And he's a talented player, man, but it's just not been consistent for you. And against Seattle this week, I know Seattle just gave up a huge game to Emeka Egbuka, and you might be getting excited there, but there was no Devon Witherspoon, their starting corner, so that is something to keep an eye on. He is questionable for this week, so that could change things if he is in or if he is out. But Brian Thomas, man, it's been a tough one. I think for people who have him now, you can't really trade him for value you would want him to. So he's a hold. But if he's able to have a big game soon, then you can move him. But for this week, I am not super high on him either. We'll move to our kickers of the week, which is our last little quick bit. I have Matt Gay on Monday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. I think that's a game where both sides are going to be able to score. And Gay has been solid. I think he's top 10 on the season for kickers, so I think he's just a really solid play.
I like it, Justin. I think that Matt Gay is going to have a great matchup. It's home against the Bears. Bright lights there on Monday Night Football. For me, I'm going to go with Chase McLaughlin there. I like the matchup against the 49ers. Their defense isn't like bad where like Baker Mayfield is going to be scoring all over them. Yeah, Emeka is going to have a great game. Maybe Shepard can get in the end zone. But I feel like there's going to be some moments where, yes, Baker's going to get stopped short. He'll make a crazy pass and it just won't happen. Yes, there's no Nick Bosa. I do think that Robert Saleh can generate good pressure in those, past the 50-yard line. So I love it. Chase McLaughlin, he's able to hit outside of 40. He has some games where he's randomly not good, but I think this is the game where he's on fire. Justin, I've noticed this trend. There's always like these 3 o'clock kickers that just are on fire. They just hit it. It's random. There's this 3 o'clock kickers that they just hit a few 50-yarders. It's like, it always happens, Justin. I think this is the kicker that is this week.
Yeah, McLaughlin's been one of the better kickers on the season. He had double digits the last 3 weeks, and he's been really locked down. So I like it. We're picking 2 guys that are on good offenses, so that's kind of the goal when you get kickers. But anyways, Dween Nation, those are our starts and sits for week 6 of the fantasy football season. We're going into the third. It'll be after this weekend will be a third of the regular season will be complete, which is insane. But obviously every week I'm asking, for the weekend to come faster. But then, once we're in February, February, what was it, 16th or 17th? Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, man, it went too fast. So, super excited for this weekend. Super excited to play against you. Dween Nation, we also have our game predictions for the week coming out here on YouTube and then continuously posting on TikTok and Instagram. I know I got rankings thrown out today. Rankings will be thrown out today. And then what else do we got? Oh, we got bold predictions, superstars,
yeah,
college football picks, buy low, sell high. So stay tuned for all of that. Thank you guys for listening. And Janoah, send us out.
Yo, Dween Nation. This was our starts of the week, which I hope we hit on these, Justin. And this was a good lineup of players, very fresh, very different variety, different ways of scoring, good matchups there. So I love it, Justin. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Check us out on TikTok. We are steaming there. Justin is killing it, guys. And we also have our rapid fire picks every week, rapid fire picks for you guys. So thank you guys for watching. We love you guys. And as always, peace.